Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Suzy Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have another really exciting interview ahead of us today about being a sandwich carer while being a thought leader in neurodiversity. Today, you'll be meeting Lucy Smith, a woman in the middle entrepreneur who's the most helpful person in her industry. She's driven to help as many people as possible, which is by understanding neurodiversity so we can achieve better results in the workplace. So welcome to the show, Lucy. I'm so happy you're here.
Hey, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I love your accent. I'm sure you hear that all the time. You Brits have good accents. What can we do? What can we do about that?
Really different accents. And we're a really small country.
It's crazy.
Really, really very varied accents.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So true. So I know we're going to have a great conversation about your personal midlife entrepreneur journey. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things, your business, what's going really well, and also what midlife issues might be getting in your way a little bit, you know, how they get in all of our way, just a little bit or not, either personally or as you're trying to run your business. So let's kick things off with my favorite question. How old are you? What was your entrepreneurial journey like? And what is it exactly that you do? Take it away.
Okay, cool. I'm 51 and I'm based in the UK, obviously, and I run a business called Inclusive Change. And so Inclusive Change is an organization, as you said, right at the top, where we help as many people as possible understand more about neurodiversity. So we can help people in the workplace. I can help employers. I help individuals who are adults who might be late diagnosed in terms of, I'll just explain that term neurodiversity actually, because we quite often say that. And I assume sometimes that people know what I'm talking about. Not everybody does. So neurodiversity is it's a term that means all our brains are different. And so we are all neurodiverse, all of us. And neurodiversity is about respecting all types of brains. But there are some brains that are a little bit different to the norm. And those brains are people who might be autistic, ADHD, so attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I think you might call it ADD in the US. Things like dyslexia. You might have heard something called dyscalculia, which is similar to dyslexia, but all about numbers. So people who can't work with numbers very well. And there are a lot of diseases. There are a lot of things under that umbrella of what they call neurodivergent. And I help people understand what that means and how to support them. And sometimes, in fact, quite a lot now, actually, I meet people who are what we would call late diagnosed in their 40s, 50s, even 60s and 70s, who have only just understood that they could be or they are neurodivergent. So they might be autistic, late diagnosed, particularly women. And I speak to a lot of women who are finding that part of their life out and realizing that's why life was a bit difficult sometimes. Yeah. So my organization and my drive is around helping people understand more about that.
And why are you so passionate about it?
It stems from my own family. So I have 2 autistic kids. They're teenagers now, and they were diagnosed. Both of them are, one's 16, one's 15. I had them very close together. I needed to get that out of the way in my 30s. It was like, well, I'm here, clock's ticking, got to get it done. And my eldest, so this is quite a difficult story. It's not difficult for me, but sometimes it's difficult for other people to hear. So when my eldest, who's now 16, when they were 9, they didn't want to be alive anymore. And they were doing things to make that happen. So when your 9-year-old comes to you and says, I've just tried and I don't want to be alive. And I try not to use the words because I know that some people might be listening to this and that's difficult stuff to hear. You kind of go into a bit of a panic mode. Mum, Dad, all of us kind of were like, what the what? And for 2 years until we got help, it's very difficult to get support over here in the UK around mental health, particularly for a child who's just 9 years old. And so we sought lots of different types of help. And by the time they were 11, they were diagnosed as autistic. And for us, that was a little bit of a shock. And we kind of thought, well, what? Say, no, this can't be. My child has makes eye contact. My child is really intelligent. My child is sociable. They've got friends. They're going out. They're doing this. And it turns out that girls in particular are really, really good at masking their autistic traits. They're really good at mimicking other people and fitting in. And so they don't always represent the traditional idea and traditional way that we see autism, particularly in girls. And so at that point, I realized, okay, I can sit back and I can seek help and I can just try and support my family and carry on doing what I was doing. At the time, I had a great job. I was working in law enforcement here in the UK, and I had a brilliant job, really great. But I had to leave that job. I couldn't do that and look after my child at the same time, who was still struggling. And then I thought to myself, do you know what? I can do something about this, and I can either sit back and wait for other people to help me, or I'm going to step up and I'm going to help other people. And so I was still working in a different job. I hadn't left employment altogether. But then what happened was my youngest was also diagnosed as autistic. Wow. And again, it wasn't so much of a surprise there, but he's more typical. And that diagnosis hit him very, very, very hard. That was very difficult for him. And so we had a long time of needing help and support. And when I came out at the end of that, I said, right, this is now me. This is now my time to set up my organization, which is called Inclusive Change. And this is time that I give back and I start to make a change, because I want my children to go into a workplace where all brains are valued and where we can make a difference for neurodivergent people in the workplace. I want that to be the world that my kids get and their kids get. I don't want to repeat the same things that are happening now with people in burnout, people being performance managed, people mental health crisis, because they don't understand enough about neurodiversity in the workplace. And that is the long answer to a really short question.
I had a feeling there was a good one there. Because, most of us are drawn to what we feel so passionate about because of some kind of personal experience. So
yeah, always.
Well, that's quite a story. And your family has been through a lot. That's for sure. And I know that this, as you mentioned, it wasn't your first job. So switching into this was a big transition. And then I know, well, as you know, one of the things that this podcast is so focused on, not the podcast is focused on, I'm focused on it in the podcast, is this intersection of where midlife hiccups end up affecting the way you are running your business as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And so you called another one of the roles that you have sandwich carers.
Oh, yes.
I thought was a beautiful way to talk about it, because most of us are familiar with the sandwich generation, but as a caregiver, that really puts the focus on what is going on. So tell us a little bit about how that all played out in your life.
So my mother-in-law, who sadly very recently passed away, she lived with us. Thank you very much. She lived with us for about 14 years. And so we had a house that was adapted. We had space for her. She was really active. She didn't stop working until she was 84 years old. She was still a carer for people with dementia. She would go into their houses and look after them when she was 84. Okay. So she was really active. She was a strong and driven woman. She was a nurse in her life. And sadly, dementia started to kick in, and we didn't really notice it, or we pretended not to notice it. And we didn't notice when she was getting lost or those kind of things. And so probably the last 4 years of her living with us, we slipped and slid and then just dramatically fell into the role of carers. And my husband and I, COVID hit us, massively hit us. We had just become self-employed just before COVID happened. And we struggled. And it was like, we're not being helped by the state or anything like this. How on earth do we manage this? And what we fell into very quickly was that we became these sandwich carers, and that on a daily basis, we were giving care to our own kids, our own children, who at that time were still in a really difficult place. They couldn't attend school. They did lots of therapies and support around understanding why things were really dark and really desperate with themselves. And at the same time, we had Audrey slipping into dementia, lack of mobility, unable to walk, unable to care for herself. There was elements of neglect. But she was we wanted to give her dignity. We treated her like, come on, we you want to do this? Oh no, don't worry about that. Sitting in her pajamas all day long. And she would never have done that kind of thing. And so for us, we suddenly looked at ourselves in kind of like the end of 2020 and went, whoa, what's just happened? And we were caring for our generation up and caring for the generation below. And nobody was caring for us.
No, and COVID on top of everything else. Those early days were brutal without vaccines and all the lockdowns and oh my goodness. Lucy, that is a lot.
Yeah, well, it gets even better. Shall I tell you a little bit?
Please.
If I tell you a little bit about part of my business. So I set up Inclusive Change in 2020, January 2020. Okay. And the idea behind this was that we were going to create a business or a sustainable enterprise that we could provide work experience for autistic adults and young people. Okay. We had this idea and it was like, yeah, we're totally going to go with it. And then we started seeing these little signs from China and we were like, I think this is coming. This is definitely coming. Okay. All right. Let's see what's going to happen. We were going to open up our shop in kind of like April, May 2020. Now, the thing about our shop is it's based in a retirement community, right? A specifically built retirement community for independent living for people over 55. Most of them are over 70 and most of them don't live independently. So we got a call from the retirement village because they said, your shop, we really, really want you. Could you open your shop in 48 hours? Say what now? so what? So we'd never run a shop before. We weren't prepared for this. This was as COVID hit. So March the 21st, 2020, we opened our shop. We had nothing. We were not prepared. We didn't have a till, but we knew that we had to get in there and we had to open up and we had to get supplies to that community who were going to be in lockdown within 2 days. And they were being told they weren't allowed to leave their apartments. They weren't allowed to go out. Their families couldn't shop for them because they couldn't get to them. They couldn't do online shopping because I don't know what it was like in the States, but in the UK, if you tried to do an online shop, because that's really big over here, you had to wait 6 weeks for a shopping slot.
Yeah, it wasn't. Now it's amazing, but sometimes there were big waits. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm in Canada and it was, some days were great and some days weren't, but I remember getting up at the crack of dawn to try to get an order in so early. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was quite a time back then. Yeah. So what happened? You did it?
So we did it. We opened it up and we did it and we could only trade within the retirement village for about 18 months. So for our business, that was really difficult because our business plan was made on the wider community and everything being normal and it not being COVID. But we did it. But what we had to do, we had 2 kids who were essentially homeschooled. One was okay because everything was covered there. The other one, he just crashed and burned and we needed a lot of help there. And then we had mother-in-law who couldn't understand why she couldn't go out and why her carers couldn't come around and see her. And we were trying to run a shop at the same time, which we'd never done before because we felt we had to do it. That was crazy.
I can't even imagine.
We used to get really cross because we'd go out and we'd see all these people who were in the UK. We had something called furlough. Okay. And furlough meant that your companies got money from the government in order to keep you employed, but you weren't doing anything. You were just allowed to be whatever. And we'd see all these people out on their bikes or like wandering and like doing stuff. And we're like, why are all these people out? We're really working really hard. Fortunately, we had lots of people that actually came and volunteered for us. And so we corralled a load of volunteers. They helped us run the shop for the first few months. And it was literally incredible. And shall I do my little humble brag here? It's not even a humble brag. It's a massive brag. We won an award last year for our community work and what we did. And then March 2023, we got introduced to the Prime Minister of the UK. We got taken to Downing Street in the UK and we were able to tell him what we did in lockdown and what we do now. And it's a bit of a journey from 3 years ago, getting groceries to people to being introduced to the Prime Minister and him asking what we did and why. It's a bit incredible.
It's remarkable. Congratulations. I mean, it is absolutely remarkable. You're really making some big changes out there. That's for sure. Yeah. And it came so organically, and you really wanting to make a contribution. Now, tell me what hiccups are getting away. Let's talk about these midlife issues. You've got one of them that you just explained.
Yeah, the caring.
Yeah.
I'd certainly say, I don't know about you, right? But so I work in that world of neurodiversity, and I meet a lot of people who have got ADHD. So the attention deficit hyperactive disorder, and a lot of women in particular I'm meeting whose brains are just not stopping. And it hits us in different ways. My brain, it doesn't stop. It literally doesn't stop. And in some ways, it's incredible because I'm able to get so much more done than other people. But in other ways, it's a bit blooming tiring. And quite honestly, I would like my brain to stop a little bit, to be honest. And I feel like because I think I've hit the menopause. I didn't think I had, and then haven't had anything for a while. So I think I'm probably there, but I don't feel any of the other stuff. I don't feel hot flushes. I've always been a hot person. Always, always, always. And I probably do have mood swings. In fact, my 15-year-old would look at you and go, yeah, mum. Yeah, that's one of the things, mum. But the brain not stopping and that overactive, it's just hard work. My poor husband, he's like, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and he'll be like, can you just not download everything? Just stop.
Yeah. And then when you're running a business and like as an entrepreneur, already we kind of are like this, we're coming up with ideas and how to help people more and what else you can do. And it's really risky for burnout.
Yes. Oh, I feel it. Feel it. And I feel it. And fortunately, I'm quite self-aware and I'm surrounded by people that I can say, hang on a minute, I need to stop for a bit. And even if I can just stop for a few hours, and the best thing I do at the moment is go for a swim. So to just swim and the sound of the water, being under the water, all of the strokes and thinking about like how my body's moving, which is really weird because I don't like exercise at all, but it is the time I can stop for a little bit.
I love that. And maybe there's something too about the water touching all of your body. You know what I mean? I wonder about that. Yeah. But what's so beautiful is you at least have the awareness and you found something that helps. The trick, of course, is making sure that that's in your life enough.
It's not really, but there we go. And also,
I had a feeling.
Oh, it's also, there's all those scary feelings. So sadly, Richard's mum, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, and it makes you realize about how finite life is and how actually there's only one way we're all going. And I know that sounds depressing, but then you start to go, hang on a minute, what am I missing out on? What is it? Because if it all ends tomorrow, what will I have been left thinking about? And somebody mentioned a phrase to me the other day about don't leave with the music still playing, and you're like, okay. And so it was about, I was talking about, I'd love to write a book. And she went, why are you not doing it? Go and do it. Just do it, because there's nothing there to stop you. And
well, there's plenty of things. There's plenty of things that could stop you.
Yes.
If you let them.
But if I let them.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, don't let them. If you want to do it, go and do it. I haven't got the time in my life. Thank you very much.
Well, the thing is that you can decide that it's going to happen someday, which is still a baby step in the right direction. Doesn't mean you need to do it right now.
Exactly. But that whole idea of what do I still want to do?
Yeah. What do you want?
Yeah. What do I want to prepare my kids for? What do I want to make happen so that they can live independently and they can be who they want to be? And I feel that that's a big responsibility sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It really is. And the whole menopause, being in your 50s thing, it kind of shines a spotlight on it. One thing you mentioned in your notes that is certainly, you're not alone, but I wondered if you could talk a little bit about it. And it's being a little scared or concerned about the way society looks at older women.
Oh, gosh.
So how is that coming up for you? Are you starting to feel it?
Sometimes, but I'm going to be a little bit vain here. I don't feel I look my age. And so that has a little bit of an advantage for me because I still have blonde hair and I've not gone grey yet. I don't wear makeup. And that's basically because mostly it would fall off my face or just make me feel really uncomfortable. So I just don't love it. So I'm really lucky that I can get away with that because most people wouldn't feel so comfortable. But yes, that element of feeling, hang on a minute, I'm out of the age range that employers might be looking for, or, there are all these bright young things coming through into the workplace or setting up their own businesses. And there's me in my 50s trying to go it alone and trying to run a business. And I do sometimes get that feeling of I'm being left behind and I'm going to become irrelevant, which is why I do stupid things. Well, it's not stupid. I do things like I join Discord just because like that's what the young kids are doing. And I need to be around that element or recognize and see what's going on. And yeah, that can be difficult. But I would say that I think I'm coming to terms with it for a start, but also I've begun to surround myself with incredibly inspiring and intellectual people who are my age. And it's comforting to talk to people sometimes and listen to them and go, actually, we've got a lot of wisdom. We've got a lot to give back. And my job now is to give that to the next generation so that they can benefit from it and not make the mistakes that we made. Although sometimes it's fun to make mistakes. So
yes, we definitely can't grow without making mistakes.
yeah.
So what would you say the next step is in continuing to grow your business?
Well, I'm adding different elements to my business now. So we focused on building up the shop. I now focused on my training and consultancy and taking that to the next level. And so I've set up an academy online, which is called Inclusive Change Academy. And I am delivering courses and training through that. I'm beginning to build a membership kind of community so that we can look at that because, and I don't say this out loud very often, I want to get to a point where I don't have to be somewhere to be working. And
absolutely.
That actually I can be that nomad, that digital nomad that could go, do you know what? I'm going to drop sticks and I'm going to come over to Canada because there's a program on the television in the UK about Canada at the moment, race for life or something like that. I don't know.
The Amazing
Canada.
Race.
I don't know. It might be that.
What it is?
Yeah.
I think I heard it was in Canada right now. Yeah. Becoming a digital nomad or having that laptop lifestyle is something that I find midlife women who have, not been an entrepreneur for 20 or 30 years. I have met lots of women who've been an entrepreneur for a very long time.
Yeah.
But a lot of women our age, we haven't been at it forever. And, I need constant reminders. Oh, I can do that. You mean right away I go to, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you've been invited to a conference. Oh, I'm too busy. I can't do that. I could never.
No, you can't.
In. Right. And it's like, wait, I can do my job in a hotel room anywhere, in a B&B. It's at my best friend's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great reminder that there is so much that's possible. And you see a clear path forward in the way that you're helping neurodiversity and the workplace and more understanding and acceptance. And it's amazing. I absolutely love what you're doing, Lucy. What is the best way that people can get a hold of you?
The easiest way is to go on my website, which is inclusivechange.co.uk. And on there's a contact button. We'll take you to a link page and you can find out all my free stuff. I've got free courses. So there are free ebooks and courses you can download. And they're not even courses. They're just videos of me telling you and talking about neurodiversity and how to
like a training, like a quick training.
Yeah, like a free training course. They're really short. There's no test. There's no assessment. It's just, okay, that's information I didn't know, or, oh, that's made things much clearer for me. And they're really easy. So inclusivechange.co.uk, and that will take you to the various places that you will find more about my courses and things.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time for your from your day to share all of what's been going on for you and the way you're making the world a better place. And, you're really doing great things. And the fact that it came for you at such a difficult time personally, it's really something. And then where it's taking you now that you're hobnobbing with.
I know. I also want to say, just to finish off, I talked about my children at the beginning. But what I want to say, and I want to give hope to lots of maybe moms who have and are going through the same experiences as I did. My kids are really, really doing well now. They are great academically. They are great in their own mind, and they are self-assured, totally happy and doing brilliantly. So we can turn things around and we can bring things to a positive place.
So good. So you're not just all about the hobnobbing.
No.
Raising brilliant children, figuring out the serious problems in the world. Amazing. No, you really are amazing. Thank you so much for doing what you do. I really appreciate your work, and you telling more people about it like you did just now is absolutely going to raise awareness to what is actually going on out there. So thank you.
You are very, very welcome. Thank you too.
All right. That is it for now. If you're listening and loving what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are great too and much appreciated. And if you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and an entrepreneur and would also like to come on the show and share your goodness, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. It's never too late for you to put yourself on your agenda. I'm Suzy Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you again soon. Now, real quick before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with this show, I'd love to invite you to a happiness breakthrough coaching session. It's my laser-focused coaching call that will help you get clear about what's getting in your way as a woman in the middle entrepreneur and confident about your next steps to more happiness in your next chapter. Head over to www.nextchapterbreakthrough.com. Talk to you soon.